everybody, it's happening. Tarte holiday review. Huge amount of holiday stuff. Tarte goes big for the holidays with palettes and gift sets. There's so many different configurations of things. They have sent me a lot of the stuff that they are putting out for the holidays. I think nearly everything. And yeah, I've been trying it out. I have been going back and forth with different ways to put this video out. At one point I thought I'll just do, cheek and lip stuff in one video, palettes in another video. But then there's something about it to me. I think it's more satisfying to see it all laid out all in one video, because I think it's easier for the viewer to then see what I'm saying and make comparisons across the board and be like, okay, is any of this worth my time? Or, which bits and pieces do I really like? So I decided I would wait until I got to the point where I could talk about it all. And so that's where I am now. And I want to preface this by saying, I don't think we need to settle at all with any holiday stuff. There are so many brands where they're putting out a strong eye palette. This brand's putting out great lip products. This brand's got a great face thing, and there's so much good that comes out this time of year. I don't think you have to go looking at one brand's thing and say, okay, what do I need to get from this brand? If none of it appeals to you, leave it alone. The way I'm going to approach this video is I've got like 3 piles. I've got a pile of yes, a pile of no, and a pile of maybe, kind of in the middle. My biggest pile is the no pile, okay? So just keep that in mind. I don't think you have to settle for anything. I'm not doing these videos thinking I have to come up with something I like out of this. If I really didn't like any of it, I'd tell you that. But in this big bunch of things I'll be talking about, there are, I think, some really good finds. And I think I'll just start with the stuff I like best, because that's what I've got sitting up here around me right now. So we're gonna dive in and do that first. Now, Tarte has come out with a couple of brush sets. One is exclusive to their website and Sephora, and the other is exclusive to their website and Macy's. This is the Sephora set, this is the Macy's set. I'm here to say these are both really good brush sets. Definitely, without a doubt, some of the best stuff that Tarte has put out this holiday season are the brushes. Now, these little containers are part of it, and there are little plastic inserts here, which I have kept in here just so you can better see, what you're getting, but that will come out, and these can turn into brush holders that hold a number of other products. But each brush set is 5 brushes, and the one that I really like best is the one that comes from Sephora. And before I get too ahead of myself, the whole theme for this year's Tarte holiday collection is Tarte Delight, and it seems like kind of a, I don't know, Moroccan inspired, like you can see on the back of this packaging. It's this kind of idea. And what's interesting about the brushes is like each brush, and they're so shiny, it might even be hard to tell, but each brush has a different little design on it. But this set from Sephora that comes in the gold tone container here, something that I noticed right away when I started using these is that they feel kind of light. Where I'm getting that feeling from is the handle. It's not a big weighty handle, and that really doesn't bother me too much, because where it counts, I feel like this is classic, Tarte brush quality. I think Tarte does really good brushes. I've been a fan of a lot of the things they've done, but it's a really good ferrule, and the brush itself super duper soft, but it's just not going to feel super weighty in the hand, just FYI. The set that I like the most, this is a great foundation brush, a nice full buffing foundation brush for liquid or powder. This largest brush, I used it today for like bronzer and contour. I think it's really nice for that because it's so pinched here toward the top. This next brush, this really spoke to me at first as being a highlight brush, but I love it for concealer blending too. This could be a lot of things. This could also easily chisel out like a cheek contour, very multi-purpose there. And then a couple of eye brushes, or, I see this little chunky guy as even a concealer brush for more precise areas. This, obviously, an eye blending brush, excuse me, just blend out the edges. These are so soft, so that's gonna really lend itself to that type of need. But we're talking $44 on each of these sets, and I think they are well worth it. The one for Macy's is kind of like a cardboard box. I don't want to say like it's in a cardboard box. It feels more like the exterior of one of their palettes, let's say. And you got a big powder brush with this one, a blush brush, which is really nice. The foundation-y brush that's in this one is a little bit more dense. Like there's not quite as much movement to it across the skin as there is with the one in the Sephora set. And I kind of prefer the Sephora one. I think it blends out just a bit easier. You got a brush here that's nearly identical to the Real Techniques contour brush that I like so much. So this could definitely be contour. This could be highlighter. This could even be a pop of blush on the cheeks. And then you've got an eye brush that is real similar in cut and design to like a Sigma E25, which you guys might know if you watch a lot of my videos. That's the first thing that I kind of go to my crease with, you know, to start building up color there. This is a little smaller than that. This could even get some color on the lid too. So I do think Tarte tends to put out really nicely thought out, nicely designed brush collections, and they are definitely the strengths of their holiday stuff this time around. And if you're just looking toward one, I think the one for Sephora is the most like well-rounded, meets every need really nicely type of set. Tarte has some large palettes that I'll be talking about here that they put out around the holidays. I'll just tell you now, those are not in my favorite stack. The one thing eyeshadow related that I really liked that they put out for holiday is this little palette right here. It's called Buried Treasure, and it is available at Sephora, and I really enjoy it. I kind of glanced at it at first and thought, okay, Tarte, you know, these are kind of classic Tarte type colors, but they are a really, really pleasant, nice, very soft texture to work with. And when we're thinking giftable palettes, like this is giftable. This would be a nice little thing to give somebody. I think the outer design is actually really cute, and then everything on the inside is truly like nice wearable stuff. And for the holidays, this kind of ruby shade that's happening down here, this deep burgundy red, is so gorgeous. The shades that are purely matte are this kind of like dusty taupey gray lilac. You've also got a light soft brown here, which is great in the crease, and then a cream right here. These down here are more of a satin finish. They still work really nicely in the crease, and then you've got several shades that really are shiny, including a golden color down here. So I used that for my eye look today. There's so much stuff that I'm going to be talking about in this video. I did not shoot a demo of this, but if you are interested in a tutorial, let me know. It's just, I think, a very basic, easy palette. Oh, and here's the other little thing. This shade right here. Okay, my friend David, he watched my video about like blending mistakes that I'm making, and I was talking about having trouble really blending the inner part of my eye crease area. And he said to go back and forth between a face powder and your eyeshadow and just keep kind of going back and forth and getting it all nicely buffed out that way. I said, that's a great idea, and I have done that, and it worked really well. And then I saw this shade in this palette, and I thought that's kind of like, you know, my skin tone, maybe just a little lighter, and I started using that method with that color. Works so well because this is such a rich and pigmented matte color. And then I thought, oh, I just want to take that down a little bit more and like brighten up my inner corners. So that's what I did actually with this brush out of the Sephora set. I dabbed into this shade and I took it right around, yes, this fully opaque eyeshadow. Sorry, my camera's struggling. And I took it right around my inner corner and even just under the eye a little bit for brightening. And I thought that worked so well. Like I could not believe how brightened and wonderful that was. So anyway, I enjoyed this palette. I like the kind of look that this is going to create for me. It's just very much my style of eye look, and I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. There's one lip set that I'm really loving from Tarte this year, and it's the Pout Pleasures. It's a set of 5 full-size Lippy Lingerie jumbo pencils. And this Lippy Lingerie idea, I mean, I think basically what they've done is taken their old Lip Surgents, which was their jumbo lip pencil, and they did have a matte version of those. And this to me seems to be that formula all over again, and I really liked that. It was really easy to wear on the lips, non-drying, just a comfortable matte formula. But I think this Lippy Lingerie line might be a little more focused on nudes, and I just love the color selection in here because we're talking nude to deep neutral into berry, and I think that's what I find to be really wearable, really the type of shade I'd like to reach for on a daily basis. Like I do love a bright red here and there, or even an orangey red, but these are kind of those cozy, nice colors that it's like this time of year, I think they pair so well with the kinds of eye looks that I want to do for fall and winter. And they make your lips just feel like pillows. My lips haven't even been in especially like the best condition. I would say they're on the dry side right now, and I still can put on one of these matte colors and they look great. Today I'm wearing the most berry, like the deepest one, and I've also got a little thing added on with this, and it's this Lip Topper. Tarteist Lip Paint in Tinsel. This is really cool. At a glance you think, okay, is that just a champagne gold? But then you look up closely and it's got this like pinky shift to the shimmer that's in here. And I think this is dynamite paired with the lippy lingeries. So you can put this on, and sometimes with these I only like putting them on the center of my lower lip, which is kind of what I've done today. But when I'm using, I would say, like the 3 lightest shades in this little collection, I put this all over the entire lip and it's so gorgeous. I mean, I typically wouldn't go for this. Sometimes when they put out just a single product around the holidays, I'm like, okay, you know, be better value if this was part of a set or something. But this truly, I keep coming back to it and I think it's so special. They've put this awesome cap on it, which I really think is cute. So guys, that's it. That is the stuff that I would recommend from the Tarte holiday collection. And if that's all you came for was the recommendation, thanks for being here. I'll see you later. If you want to get the dirt on everything else that was not so good, stay with me. I have 3 things in my kind of average pile. Like, these are things that I thought were pretty good, but I have one small gripe about them all. I believe this is called the Posh Pout lip set. It's $36 at Sephora. What they're doing here is giving you 2 boxes inside. So like 2 things you could gift separately. One box contains 4 mini sizes of the glossy lip paints, and one has 4 of the matte quick dry lip paints. If you wanted to mix them up and give them to somebody, like kind of go half and half in here, you could do that because there's no real label of what they are on the outside of the box, but there is a to and from on the back. Here's my deal with these. I actually like both of these formulas. I think the glossy lip paints are opaque, not too sticky, pretty easy to apply, and for the most part they go on evenly. And with the mattes, there is a significant and rather quick dry down with these, and it's a pretty complete dry down, I feel. They're not going to be as comfortable on your lips as the Bare Minerals Gen Nude, you know, so that would kind of be my top pick. These aren't killing my lips in terms of dryness, but they are significantly drier than the Bare Minerals, just so you know if you've never tried these. You are getting actually the exact same kinds of shades in each. Granted, they are different finishes, but I mean, you're getting the nude, the mauve, the warm red, and the berry. In both of them, I found that everything applied really consistently. Like with the glossy ones, I thought these first 3 were all really nicely opaque, and then I got to the last one and it was streaky, and it was hard to get that full-on even application with the darkest color. And then I had that same issue with the mattes, which I thought was odd. Like, I put it on and I could eventually get to a place where I was satisfied with it, but it took a lot more work than the other 3 shades did. I like the concept of this kit. I like the thought of 2 individually giftable items within one box. If you were gonna keep it all for yourself, keep in mind you're getting 2 boxes of basically the same shades, just different finishes. That might appeal to some people, might not appeal to others, but I did struggle a bit with the darkest shade in both sets. A couple of blush items that are just in the middle for me from Tarte. The first one is this set of 5 just individual blushes. I don't really have any complaints about the quality of these in terms of the pigmentation and the way they blend out on the cheeks and stuff like that. I think they apply nicely. The thing that kind of was odd to me is that they're all in a peachy coral color scheme. If that is your go-to blush shade and you love the Amazonian clay blushes, then this might be right up your alley. But I just thought it was a little bit odd that everything had a varying amount of peach in it, except, you know, there is this kind of mauve shade here, but everything else goes from dusty peach to more of a pure peach to a soft coral to a really deep coral. This one, the mauve, and then this kind of true peach shade here, they have a little bit of a satin finish. The rest are mattes. Again, not really a quality concern for me, but I just found it a little bit odd that everything fell into kind of a peachy look there. The Blush Bazaar palette, $44 at Sephora. So this thing is about the size of their like Rainforest of the Sea, I think it's called, eyeshadow palettes, and you open it up and you've got 2 sides of blush here, just divided by a sheet, but the sheet is connected to the palette and it's perforated if you wanted to get rid of that. 8 blushes and 2 highlights. So 8 blushes, you know, that's a lot for one palette to have that many different blushes. And all but one of the blushes seem to be matte. This one has a little shimmer, and of course your highlights, one more pinky tone, one a little more golden tone, those have shimmer, but everything else is matte. And some are more like berry mauves, some are a little bit peachy. I think you got a really pure pink up here, a little bit more neutral tone over here. It's kind of a nice variety, but I guess the way I see it is this is for the blush lover. Unless you're absolutely nuts for Tarte's blushes, I think this is a lot of blush. I think blush palettes can be a little excessive at times, and I find myself wanting, in addition to the blushes, if you're gonna give me this much like product in a compact, can we just have one like sort of face powder shade? Can we have one color that's a bronzer? Maybe something that could function really nicely as a contour? This causes me to look at that Hourglass palette that they put out this year and say, you know, that's a multitasking palette. I'm dying for a few more things to be in here besides just the blush and the two highlights. The Hourglass one, you know, they put in a couple of blushes, and I found that to be totally adequate. And then you had a couple of different like finishing powder type things, the bronzer, the highlight, and boom, a lot was happening all in one small space. Here, they could have cut the amount of blush they gave you in half and done other things with the other pans, and I think it would have been so much more useful. Now I'm going to move on to the pile of things that I just didn't go for that Tarte put out for the holidays. One of those things is the Goddess Glow highlighter, $35 at Sephora. Comes in a compact like this. Now this is the size of that little eyeshadow palette that I was talking about at the start that I really like. It's a pretty imprint there. What's turning me off from this is that it's kind of chunky, and once it shears out on your cheeks, the glitter is very apparent in this. It's a fine glitter, but it's totally there. It's just this big compact of it. It doesn't appeal to me enough for me to come anywhere close to using that up. Like if this was just a small sliver in a palette somewhere, I could maybe look past it, you know, but I would not seek this out for $35 on its own and say, that's a highlight I'm loving. I just don't like to get an up close look at my skin and see the flecks of glitter. It takes a highlight from looking beautiful and possibly natural and possibly coming from, you know, your own body. Instead of being that, it turns into a very artificial look, so I'm not into that. Also, there's a blush palette, again, with the blushes. This is gonna cost you $39, and it's an Ulta product here. You can see a pretty exterior on the palette, and they usually put out a blush palette kind of like this every year. For the most part, with one exception, everything in here is very bright. This one shade has some shimmer. For whatever reason, it's always a coral shade that has a little golden shimmer in any palette that they put out of blushes. It's just okay for me. It once again follows the thought of, it's all in a palette, but do I need 4 blushes in a palette, or would I have rather had a palette that gave me 1 or 2 blushes and a couple of other things that I could use in other ways on my face? I just glance at it and I think I've seen it over and over again, Tarte. That's my thought. A lip set that I really didn't go for this year is their Lip Sculptor collection, and they have done some good sets of this type of product before, and what these are is a half lipstick, half lip gloss. And so with this set, you're getting 5. They're $34 and available at Ulta. What kind of ticked me off about this set was that I felt like they gave you 2 shades, 2 out of the 5, that are really, really close. Like these look so similar. You see them swatched out, you see them on the lips, they're a lot alike. In a 5-piece set, I don't want to see overlap. So you're basically getting 2 peachy nudes, then there's a pink, and then there are 2 shades that I just would not wear in this format. One is a deep red and one is more of a bright red. I'm kind of running from the glossy version of these shades because the tendency to drift is totally there. And these are not like thick, really adhere to your lips types of glosses. If these drift, they will show. And these are very creamy lipsticks too. So if those start to drift outside your lip line, it will be very obvious in these shades. If we're talking dark berry and bright red, give me a matte in those and I will be happy. Now I have 3 big palettes here. One is the Ulta exclusive palette, one is the Macy's exclusive, and one is the Sephora exclusive. Guys, I can't get behind any of these. Tarte is just kind of putting out the same holiday stuff every year, and it's getting kind of boring to me, and I find myself just looking at these and sort of glazing over. And I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel about it. Here's something to keep in mind. Tarte has shown us what they can do with eyeshadows. They've put out the Tartelette palette, Tartelette in Bloom, now the Tartelette Toasted, and it's like that's where they're gonna put their good quality eyeshadows. Buttery smooth mattes, very pigmented, very rich, some nice shimmers to work with as well. And then holiday season rolls around and it will be blatantly obvious whether they incorporated that type of formula into their palette or whether they did not. In that little palette that I mentioned toward the start of the video, the Buried Treasure one, I thought those were soft, pigmented, easy to work with, easy to blend eyeshadows. It's like, yes, that's a small palette, we'll put those in there. But these big palettes, you gotta watch them, because like this one from Ulta, for example, the packaging is so cute. Guys, it's almost killing me to say like, I don't like this palette. But we all know like that'll draw us in, but months later, are we still gonna be using it? It opens up with this really cute design. You know, there's these little sort of petals that come out, and then you've got your big eye palette right there in the center. I also have complaints about the construction of 2 of the 3 of these palettes, and it's because you're going to have to keep track of this clear sheet if you want to keep these shades and these shades from compromising one another, because otherwise they're going to be folding into each other all the time. Highlight up here, blush, sort of a bronzer, but a very light bronzery contour shade. Here's a Tarte mascara, here's a matte lip paint, a glossy lip paint, and a Sex Kitten eyeliner. Not mad about all the extras they were willing to throw in there, because I think those are very wearable shades in the lip colors, and it's nice to have an eyeliner and a mini mascara. Sure, why not? Although that's not my favorite formula that they make, that's fine. These eyeshadows though, very hit and miss. You might recall last year when I reviewed Tarte's collection, they put out a really nice palette for Ulta. If you still have that, just dig that out, use that, enjoy that. Don't waste your time with this one. It's not at all what you would find in one of their Tarte lip palettes, let's say. And also last year, the colors in their Ulta palette were so like vibrant. They had some really nice shades. Here, yes, they're giving you a copper. They've got a little bit of a greenish color scheme, a little bit of plum. I'm not completely against everything they chose to put in here, but to me, I see it and think it's close to what they did last year, but not quite as good. And then you touch the matte shades. It's like, where's the intensity? These don't feel like they're mattes that they put in their other nice palettes. And then this. You expect me to travel somewhere and remember deodorant, toothpaste, and a clear sheet? I'm getting too fired up about this. Next, let's talk about the Sephora thing. Not quite as like cute in terms of what it looks like on the outside, but it's still, you know, pretty, but it opens up like this. Again, we're gonna have dark eyeshadows. We're gonna have a clear sheet that you must keep track of if you want to keep those away from these face products. And of course, they put the face product side of this door going right over your darkest eyeshadows. I mean, at least maybe they could have flip-flopped the sides that these things are on. Over here is where your extras will be. It says Hidden Treasures. Well, I found them. Got a Lights Camera Lashes mascara, a Tarte matte lip paint in a very workable, very nice shade, and a full size of the Sex Kitten eyeliner. There's a plastic insert here that could come out, so you could put these items and probably several more in there. And then there is a mirror on this side. Now you tell me how I'm supposed to use that mirror. Am I realistically going to hold this whole palette across my face, and I guess I could put that part in, and then do my shadow this way? Like, no, that's not realistic. This shadow selection is just not doing it for me. I mean, I'm glancing at it and I'm thinking, okay, we've got 2, maybe 3 really dazzling options here. You know, these shades are nice metallics. I also like this matte here and this burgundy matte. But then everything else, it's like some of these mattes are so dark, you don't get to see the full extent of what they can do on your eyes because they are that dark. Like this blue is so dark, you can't really take advantage of how blue it is. These colors down here, just very dusty plums, not purpley enough at all to even be able to recognize that there's much purple happening. Interestingly enough though, the quality of these shadows is much better than the Ulta palette. Like these do feel more like what they're putting out in their Tarte lip palette. I just can't really get behind the color scheme. I think part of it's boredom and the thought that this is the kind of thing they put out every year is like, here's your little gradient, you know, to an ultimately darkest shade. Even those pretty shimmery statement shades in here that I really like are not uncommon. And you guys know we're seeing dark reddish browns and burgundies everywhere, and they did a nice condensed palette of the kinds of colors that I would really like to wear. Over here on this side, you've got 2 nice blushes, No complaints. Two nice deep bronzers, actually. These go on very deep. The highlight, a really big pan of it here, like the size of a standard powder compact, and it's not very good. I really dug into this shade, and I did not think it delivered. So allow me to replace my clear sheet and put this one away. Finally, the most reasonably constructed palette that they've put out is the one for Macy's. There's no sheet, it's just eyeshadow is alone in its own little place here. Doesn't need any roommates, so it's all by itself. And then you've got this mirror here where if you were to sit this on a table in front of you, you would feel like, yeah, I can look directly into that and see my whole face. So that's cool. Quality of the shadows, I would put this somewhere in the middle. It's not as good and consistent as the Sephora palette, but it's not quite as hit and miss as the Ulta one either. It's just sort of in between for me. You know, I'm kind of interested in these earthy shades up here. I like these light kind of blush tones in the bottom row, but I just feel like Tarte has so much repetition, one holiday to the next. And if you've found recently a palette that they've done over the holidays that you really like for me it was the Ulta one that they put out last year. Keep that, enjoy that. But outside of the eyeshadow, you do have a contour highlight blush, which is okay for me. You know, can multitask this highlight in here. I actually kind of enjoy. I think a ton of people would be able to wear that blush. And then on the other side, 3 little extras with an insert here that does come out, so you could use this different ways. But there's a glossy lip paint in just a nice sort of neutral tan color, a Tarte Slash paint, and a mini Sex Kitten eyeliner. So I guess if I had to pick a favorite of these 3 bigger palettes, I'd probably pick the Macy's one if you're just dying for a large palette from Tarte this season. Even though the shadow quality in the Sephora one was the best, the shade selection kind of bothered me. So much darkness and not a lot of interesting shades worked in. So guys, that's my take on Tarte Holiday this year. Got some things I definitely enjoyed, but some things I really didn't enjoy also. And then of course those few things in the middle. Let me know what you think of this line in the comments section. Also let me know what other holiday releases you're interested in seeing me review, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.